Hi, this is Tim from fititmidlife.com, and today I've got the brand new Nike Pegasus Trail 2, the newest trail running shoe from Nike for the year 2020. This is a first look and unboxing, but we're going to talk about fit, sizing, and feel. We're also going to compare the shoe to the other trail running shoes, the Terra Kiger, the Wildhorse, and the Pegasus Trail 36, so stick around. All right, let's take a look at the Nike Pegasus Trail 2 trail running shoe, new for 2020. So Nike describes this as being durable and responsive because it has React foam and a lot of it. So it's described as having plush cushioning, and if you've run in a React shoe, you know why that is, because there's a lot of React foam here. So let's talk about that and other things that make up this shoe. Let's start with the outsole. So you can see all rubber outsole, fairly aggressive tread pattern, but not too crazy. You can see there that's not ridiculously deep tread nubs on there. If you've ever used a trail running shoe that has a more aggressive tread pattern, you know it feels a little bit out of place anywhere but on the trail. Not so with this shoe. It's more of a nice compromise between traction and tread depth and things like that. Has what Nike calls toe fangs up here on the front, so to help you dig in when you're running uphill or downhill. They have a similar thing here on the heel as well. So they claim that will help give you better traction whether you're going uphill, downhill. It shouldn't matter. You'll also see there is a small traction pod in the middle. This is usually included on trail running shoes because it kind of helps give you grip on larger surfaces like rocks or boulders and things like that. Not very large. So something's labeled here OGRS001, which basically denotes the type of rubber in use here. So I'm guessing this is a less durable but more grippy rubber material here in the center for traction. That's normally why they would do that sort of thing. So you can see stack height's pretty high. This shoe, because it's a lot of foam and it's tall, it has less lateral stability than other kinds of trail running shoes, and that is because of the stack height and the foam. You do have to decide, do you want a lot of cushioning or do you want stability? And that is one of the trade-offs with this shoe. So I can tell already, I haven't run in this, but just trying it on, walking around in it, comparing it side by side with all these other shoes that I have here, this feels less stable side to side. But I do love React foam. So I'm about just under 200 pounds, 6'2", 47 years old. When I run, I need React foam because I need lots of cushioning. I am not a fan of running in anything that doesn't have too much cushioning. So let's talk about the upper a bit. You can see it is a mesh. It is lightweight, and it is a double layer type of material. So I can pull apart the inner layer from the outer layer here. Both layers pretty thin, pretty lightweight. This should be fairly breathable shoe. You can see the tongue, which is stretchy. I like that. It feels comfortable. Has perforations, and they're quite large. So Nike claims this helps resist water and increase drainage, although I'm not sure how you would drain water out the tongue of the shoe. That seems highly unlikely to me. But I like perforations because they make things breathable, so that's okay by me. Up around the lace area, you'll see these fit bands, so these cloth straps. If you look inside the shoe, you can see those run down through the body of the shoe and kind of help tighten things up. Regular laces, which are nice. And you'll notice around the collar here, they've got what they call a faux gaiter. So it's a little elasticized piece. It kind of hugs your ankle, but not as completely as the gaiter on some other trail running shoes. Why is this here? Well, this helps keep debris, dirt, rocks, sticks, and other things out of your shoe when you're running. But it's not as comprehensive as you might find on other shoes. So only time will tell how well that actually works. This this shoe does have what they call the midfoot cage. So that's kind of this piece here. At the midfoot, you can see it's a little bit separated from the rest of the upper, and that of course goes around the back to the pull tab on the heel. So this helps with putting the shoe on and off and whatnot. And so overall, these are, they fit, they're true to size. Men's size 11, my normal size. The length, the width is fine. The heel feels a tiny bit loose, but I'm still getting used to these because I just got them. You can see in the heel, if I open up the collar here, you can see there's a foam padding all the way around. So that's kind of nice, right? Makes it more comfortable. And heel to toe drop is, I don't know. So it's not printed on the bottom anywhere like it is on some of the trail running shoes. And the Nike product support specialist could not tell me. All they could tell me was they thought it was between 8 and 10 millimeters heel to toe drop. So unfortunately, we don't know there yet. Hopefully, we'll find out more in the future. So overall, it fits true to size. It feels like a React foam-based shoe. So there is a lot of React foam here. You know, there's no air zoom or anything like that. It's React foam all over. Up front, in the midfoot, there's a lot of foam there. I'm compressing the shoe upper down as far as I can. And in the heel, a lot of foam there too. So gives a very soft cushioned feel. Yes, it is plush cushioning, just like Nike claimed it would be. Okay, so now let's line them up with the Wildhorse 6. So there's a couple similarities here. First of all, this is a heavy React foam shoe. I mean heavy in that there's a lot of React foam. So I like these because they've got the React foam and a good amount of it. They have a more aggressive outsole pattern, if you can see that there. So, you know, these are sort of feel uncomfortable walking on asphalt and stuff like that. It just feels like it's too much tread, and how it kind of comes up along the sides and stuff like that. But then again, you know, these are, they're deeper. The lugs are deeper than that on the Pegasus Trail 2, but not significantly. They're not like twice as deep or anything like that. All rubber outsole, very tough. Lots of React foam cushioning. These are an 8 millimeter heel to toe drop. 8 millimeter heel to toe drop. Nike does not know, at least a product support specialist does not know what the heel to toe drop is on the Pegasus Trail. It's not published on the website. I asked them, they said it's probably between 8 and 10 millimeters. I said, thanks, not so much. So the other features on the Wildhorse, it has an actual gaiter, so this is, you know, quite a bit, right? Compare the faux gaiter to an actual gaiter. This actually does work. This has a pretty tight fit on my ankle. You can see the fit bands similar to the other shoe, the pull tab, and the material here in the heel. I don't know if you can see that pattern on there, but it's similar to this. Not quite the same, but similar. So overall, by the way, both of these 12-ounce React shoe, 12-ounce React shoe. So again, men's size 11. Overall, though, I don't get the heel slippage in the Wildhorse that I get in the Pegasus Trail 2. So this one's more comfortable. But this has way more cushioning than this one. So even though this is a React shoe, it's got a good amount of foam, it doesn't have as much as the Trail 2 does. This just has more cushion to it, significantly so. And so if you're looking for a React-based trail running shoe, you know, do you want a really aggressive outsole or a more conservative? How much cushioning do you want? If you want more cushioning, go with this one. You want less, go with this one. But otherwise, you know, I think they're both competent trail running shoes. Okay, now let's compare the Pegasus Trail 2 to the Terra Kiger 6. So another trail running shoe. This is a Zoom based running shoe, Air Zoom. So this is not React foam. It's Nike's regular foam with a Zoom air unit in the back and a rock plate, a segmented rock plate up front. You can see that there is a fairly aggressive outsole. However, you can see there's a very large wet traction pod in the center. So I imagine this is for if you're running on rocks and things like that. You can imagine you're running on large stones or large rocks, like almost like boulder shaped, right? This isn't going to be able to get any traction, whereas this would. That with the segmented rock plate up front leads me to believe this would be a good shoe for running on rocky trails. 4mm heel to toe drop. Very minimal cushioning, right? Because there's no Zoom unit up front, just regular foam and a rock plate, then just a Zoom unit in the back. As compared to this, you know, an abundance of React foam. This is a much more cushioned shoe. The traction pod in the center is obviously much smaller though. Men's size 11 here. This is a 10.9 ounce shoe. So lack of cushioning, you know, lack of materials to it. It's going to be a little bit lighter. Mesh upper. It's got like a rubber protection wrap up front that's pretty tough. This doesn't have a wrap per se, but this material is not, it's not mesh perforated. So hopefully that repels water, keeps your toes a little bit drier, at least for a while. And overall, you know, pretty nice, the Terra Kiger, but really you got to be not looking for cushioning to want to run in that shoe. And I will say, you can probably see here the difference in stability side to side, right? So being less foam, not as tall versus wider, and this feels significantly less stable side to side. So that's the Terra Kiger 6. How about the Pegasus Trail 36? So this is, you know, another general purpose trail running shoe from Nike. This is based off the Pegasus 36 running shoe. In fact, it's pretty much identical with the exception of the more aggressive outsole. So you can see it's rubber, it's got some exposed foam, and overall, this is a 10mm heel to toe drop, by the way, plus 10 labeled there. Zoom shoe. So this has a Zoom unit and regular foam. This is not React foam or anything like that. These give me heel slippage as well, by the way, so not sure why, but there's something about the heel. I get a slight sensation of heel slippage in the Pegasus 36 Trail. It's more heel slippage in the Pegasus Trail 2 though, so that's a little bit disappointing. I'm not sure if these will be winners for me because of that. Now, just because they give me heel slippage, I don't know if you're going to have heel slippage, right? Feet are shaped differently. That's why you have to usually try a couple different shoes before you find one that works the best for you. So Pegasus 36 Trail, this is 10.7 ounces. Again, it gets 12 ounces and an unknown heel to toe drop, but maybe between 8 and 10. And this is 10. So that's that comparison. Okay, so last comparison. Let's compare the Pegasus Trail 2 to the React Infinity Run Flyknit. So this is not a trail shoe, but it is a React shoe. So you can see that massive amount of React foam, lots of foam everywhere. You can see the unique kind of rocker shape to the outsole. So it's supposed to support from the heel strike to the midfoot to the toe off. And Nike claims the Infinity Run will actually help lessen the chance of injury. So I don't know about all that, but I do know if you like a very plush, cushioned feel, the React Infinity Run is a good shoe for that. I like Flyknit. It's comfortable, it's lightweight, it's breathable. It's not as stretchy as it used to be, so the tongue part is still stretchy, but this part isn't as stretchy as the older version of Flyknit. This is supposed to be more durable, though. And you can see on the outsole there is a lot of rubber. This exposed foam, of course, would abrade very quickly, and the rubber is there for durability. There's some dirt, too, so I probably should have cleaned these before I did this, but oh well. So can kind of see here, both tall, right? There's a lot of stack height here, and this is all React foam, so they actually feel very similar. A lot of cushion in this trail running shoe. In fact, you know, I'm just going to go out and say this is the most cushioned running trail running shoe that I have in my collection. It is quite cushioned. And, you know, almost to a detriment, right? Because the lateral stability, this thing, it doesn't feel, with all that stack height and foam, it does not feel as stable as the other shoes. That's a trade-off. So what do you want? Cushion or, you know, lateral stability? That's where I think you have to decide. Okay, so that was our first look at the Pegasus Trail 2 new trail running shoe from Nike for the year 2020. So this is a React foam based shoe. There is React foam and a lot of it in the midsole. It has an all rubber outsole with a moderate level of all-terrain tread on it. Upper is mesh and breathable, and the shoe weighs in at 12 ounces for a men's size 11. So while it's not lightweight, it's not a heavyweight shoe either. So if you like this comparison, please like the video, please subscribe. We post new shoe reviews regularly. Thank you. Have a good day.